and will have to be continuously postponed because he's not here. Vous comprenez? Cette poursuite judiciaire que M. Tepper avait engagée contre l'Agence des inspections devait aller en cours en juillet de cette année. Mais puisque M. Tepper était détenu au Liban, les procédures de cours sont arrêtées jusqu'à son retour. So all the while, Henk is in prison abroad. This issue cannot be resolved in the Canadian courts. Is this a sign of a cover-up? We have asked repeatedly, in regards to those allegations, for the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of Consular Affairs, and I have personally met with Wayne Mooters, the clerk of the Privy Council, to charge Henk because he is a Canadian citizen and the allegation says are about a Canadian document and Henk was in Canada all that time. They all answered that they had received advice that it was not possible. Well, I received another advice, and I dare to say that they have been ill advice. I have talked with criminal lawyer Paul.
Last week started off on a very positive note when Senator Pierrette Ringuette, Senator Mac Harper, and lawyer James Muckler had a press release stating that the Canadian government needs to write a letter of request to the Minister of Justice asking for Henk's return to Canada. We were overjoyed. The following day, a representative to Mrs. Oblonsky stated that a simple letter will not guarantee Henk's release. The Canadian government keeps on stating they do not have authority to intervene in a sovereign country's legal system, nor can they try to obtain different or special treatment for Canadian citizens. The first time I visited my brother in Beirut, which was in the spring, many Lebanese authorities asked me, what is the Canadian government doing to help your brother return to Canada? Embarrassed, I had to reply, nothing. The same questions were posed to Henk's lawyer, James Muckler, who visited Henk twice during the summer. Our local MP, Mike Allen, stood up in the House of Commons this week and asked Mrs. Oblonsky a question regarding my brother Henk. Mrs. Oblonsky already had the answer written on a piece of paper. Personally, I find this very disturbing. On Power in Politics last Wednesday, Mr. Deepak, who was representing the Conservative government, Dominic LeBlanc, the Liberal MP for Beaucheshu, New Brunswick, and Yvonne Gaudin, the NDP MP for Bathurst, were interviewed. Mr. Deepak stated on TV that the RCMP gave no papers to anyone regarding Henk. As a Canadian citizen and as Henk's sister, how can we allow this to happen since we have the proof that the RCMP did send information to Algeria? Last Thursday, my distraught brother contacted me, stating that a person from the Canadian Embassy came to visit him and told Henk this: the Canadian government will not make any exceptions for you, and they will not write a letter. My brother, who has been detained since March, was very, very, very upset. He said, Harmeen, how can this happen? I am a Canadian. I went to Lebanon for them, to help them. And now they don't want to help me. 2 weeks ago, at our candlelight vigil in Crane Falls, New Brunswick, our local MP, Mike Allen, said a prayer in which he asked God to give guidance to bring Henk back home. Guidance was given to the Canadian government, and it's time to bring Henk back home to Canada, back home to Crane Falls, to Drummond, to his family, so that we can rejoice and start the year 2012 on a very positive note and as a complete family. It's time that the Canadian government brings Henk back home and use the guidance that was given to them. Thank you.
Gentlemen, ladies, this is about a potato that you can peel it, cut it, cook it, and eat it. The government of Canada and the Prime Minister have a constitutional responsibilities to stand up for the right of a Canadian who is abroad now and who is calling on his government to stand up for his right under the Constitution. I was with my colleague as well as the Canadian and Lebanese lawyer, and we met with the authorities. And in 3 different languages we have heard it from the authorities in Lebanon that if the government of Canada was to make a request to Lebanon for the return of Henk Tepper to Canada, that request will take precedent over all other requests. Simply put, the government of Canada have to do a lot more than sitting on the fence, than sitting and doing nothing with their quiet diplomacy that so far have produced nothing more than the following, that we are interested in the case of Henk Tepper. We are interested. We need more than saying we are interested. We need to tell the Lebanese authorities that if this person have committed a crime, the allegation against this person will have to be investigated on Canadian ground. Because this person, at the time that when this crime supposedly have taken place, he was not in Algeria, he was in Canada. Therefore, under Canadian laws, he should be facing Canadian justice. Simply put, we have to take serious action, and I'm appealing to the Prime Minister, on behalf of his family, on behalf of Canadians from coast to coast, and on behalf of Lebanese that we saw them while we were there, who were telling us, why isn't the government doing what it's supposed to do for a Canadian citizen abroad? I'm appealing to the Prime Minister to take the leadership necessary to make the official request, and that request need to be more than just we are interested. That must need to be that we wanted Tepper to be home for Christmas with his family, and if Tepper have committed a crime, we will treat him. We will take him before the justice system in Canada. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Time for action. We have spoken enough about this issue, and we're appealing to the Prime Minister for action.
Chers amis, dear friends, and Canadians, Henk Tepper is not a marijuana grower. Henk Tepper is not a terrorist. Henk Tepper n'est pas un terroriste. Henk Tepper n'a pas un dossier criminel au Canada. Henk Tepper is a potato farmer from New Brunswick. He is a son, a brother, a husband, and a father. A caring person for his employees and his community. Was this a cover-up? Was this a setup? Was this both a cover-up and a setup? I don't know. We don't have the documents. The Canadian government is not giving us the documents. But from what I've seen, I think this is I really do. Stephen Harper has to do the right thing.